Start the recording. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Open Data Day 2022 here at the City of Portland. I'm very happy to have with us this morning Reilly Martin, who has a lot of experience working with cities. So she worked for the city of Boston, and she has a really large network of people around here and there, has actually referred to us to a number of other cities, other people for a number of issues. So I really appreciate all that. Currently, Reilly, she is part of the Open Contracting Consortium network, and she is the manager here in the US, working with partnerships around advocacy, community building, strategy, and implementation efforts of open contracting. And with that, so I let Reilly to introduce herself if something is missing, and jump in.
Great. No, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. And I am originally from the Midwest, spent some time in Boston, but I'm now in Portland. So excited to be able to contribute and speak to more folks locally. And as Hector said, I work currently for the Open Contracting Partnership. I started last July after spending about 6 years doing similar work for the city of Boston. So thank you to all the folks who do show up day in and day out for Portland. Your work matters and we all appreciate it. But for the sake of today's presentation, I will talk through what the open contracting is, what open contracting is in general, and then some case studies from around the world, and then leave some time for questions. So the Open Contracting Partnership aims to make government contracting better and more fair and more inclusive. So what does that mean? So we'll talk through why we need to improve public contracting, what open contracting is, and some of its benefits, and some case studies that we've seen around the globe, with one in the US. And would love to hear from you all at the end for folks who are here in attendance, because I'm sure a lot of you have experienced yourselves. So why we need to improve it. Some folks may know these numbers, but procurement is a very, very large industry. So internationally, it's about a $13 trillion business for public contracts. And we think about the US federal government, you'll see it's a very large number in the triple digits of billions, with only about 10% of federal contracts going to women-owned business. And then we think about localized government, obviously with Portland being a local government. This number is not from Portland, but we look at US average of local spend for public contracting. It's about $1.6 trillion. And only about 57% of those dollars go to local contracts. In addition to that, procurement is affecting every single part of our lives as citizens, as people who live here, who do business here and want to support our local economy, particularly as we rebuild. And oftentimes procurement is done well, and there's a lot of really creative people doing creative work. I know Portland's a leader in the space, particularly when it comes to sustainability and procurement. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of articles that come out about bad procurement, how things could be done better, and we work to make some of that better with folks who are trying to do that in the US. And then I have about 30 colleagues around the globe working in different countries as well. So what is it and what are the benefits? So as I mentioned, we work with partners to make contracting better. A lot of those partners are governments and nonprofits. Some of them are everyday citizens. Right now, a lot of the work actually that's gone into procurement and open contracting in Ukraine was actually led by citizens on the ground that wanted to make change and localize change. But we work with governments, particularly in the US, to think about how to open up government and open up data, particularly around contracting, to make sustainable reform. So you'll see in this graphic I've provided, this is sort of our theory of change. We'd like to include citizens, we want to make user experience better, want to open up data, and then ultimately sort of like question the norm and make sure spending is going in good places. As I mentioned, I have colleagues around the globe, so about 30 plus countries are implementing open contracting right now to some degree, and with an ever growing number. Particularly how we work in the US and around the globe, we do some implementation work, we do learning, we do advocacy. So I'll go into a little bit more specifics on the next few slides, but what this means is we like to work intimately with folks on the ground doing work and looking to make change, so it's sustainable after we're done with the partnership. But we like to teach people how to open up their information. We do have a standard of how to do that, and then we advocate how folks make that change within government, and so the public makes it stick as well. One of the ways that we do this, we do offer and support what's called the Open Contracting Data Standard. So this is a standard that's supported by worldwide organizations such as the G7, the World Bank, and many, many countries, both at federal levels and localized levels around the world. So what this looks like is we work with folks to open up information all the way from the planning stage of procurement, all the way from implementation, and really tracking that spend from idea to how it plays out in our communities to make sure it's spent well as other things like, is it going to localized contracts? Is it going to a minimum contracts? Is it going to the same vendor over and over? Are we increasing competition? Things like that. And what this allows us to do is map to what we call 4 user needs. So we can look at the value of money, integrity, if it was spent in a good service delivery, in an effective service delivery, and how we're leveling the playing field and increasing competition and allowing folks who want to work with government really to come in. And a few case studies for change. So one that I'll mention is in Mexico City. Mexico City rethought how to do their bike system. And by opening up their procurement, both from a user experience perspective and getting feedback on their RFP and bid documents, all the way through to the user experience of the bikes, where the bike locations were, involved the public, did public forums, they were able to increase the number of bikes and bike stations while decreasing their cost by about 50%, decreasing their CO2 locally, and then also increasing the user friendliness of the website they use to show where the bikes are located and reconstruct bikes for different folks of different sizes and abilities. And in Long Beach, California is looking to do a complete extreme procurement makeover. They're using some of our data points and indicators to track how they are doing and what is happening with the bid documents. You'll see one select highlight here that I'll pull out is because of some of the work that they've done to rethink how they're opening up and sharing information about their open contracting data. They've actually decreased the amount of average time to issue and awards RFPs from 8 to 3.5 months. And as folks who have experienced in this and experienced this myself, we all know this is an incredible feat that should be celebrated. So with that, that is who I am. I'll pause, but would love to answer any specific questions in case folks have them.